Right, here is the second recap about the trade that I took today, which also turned out as a break even. And let's start everything on the 4-hour time frame first. So what happened on the 4-hour time frame? Well, not that much happened actually since yesterday, but price has broken above the last recent 4-hour supply that has caused the break of this demand. And I was really looking for long opportunities on demand areas, and I was expecting the break of this high point right here. I was expecting a new break of structure on the 4-hour time frame here. And actually, that was the plan. Technically, on the 4-hour time frame, I was expecting long continuations after demand mitigations up to this high point, expecting a break of structure here. Let's take a look on the 50-minute time frame. And actually, we had really easy plans to follow. If you take a look at this point right here, technically, price couldn't really manage to mitigate this 15-minute supply area here. There wasn't any supply mitigation. If it was, maybe on the 5-minute time frame, it was a small percent, but I was really expecting to sweep all of this liquidity right here. If we take a look at this movement, this is just a pure liquidity creation on the upside, liquidity creation on the downside. And in this case, the downside liquidity has been built up perfectly for this 50-minute demand area that has caused the break of structure before. Price couldn't manage to mitigate the 50% of it, as you can see. And after a deeper mitigation, I was expecting a confirmation entry on this demand area after the sweep of this liquidity. If this zone wouldn't be strong enough to hold the price, then I would definitely wait, and I was waiting for a confirmation entry on the lower 15-minute demand area, which was the origin of the structure breaking movement. But it has been part of this liquidity pool. However, it wouldn't be necessary for the price to sweep this liquidity because it had its own liquidity above it. So yeah, however, if this zone wouldn't be strong enough to hold the price, then I would look for shorts down to this 15-minute demand area, which has caused really nice volume inefficiency, and there was liquidity just above it. And after this demand mitigation, I was waiting for long confirmations up to this supply area, up to this liquidity pool, up to this high point, expecting a break of structure here. These were the plans technically on this session. Also, there was another one that I did not mark on the markups, which was the break of structure here to the upside, and waiting for uniform demand areas confirmation entries. Also, session started with this candle right here. So before the session, price has swept the liquidity right here, as you can see, made the 50% mitigation right here, and there was a demand area. Also, there was another possibility, which was the flip of this zone. Actually, I sent this possible scenario in the markups, and after the flip of the zone, we could wait for confirmation entry, or we could wait for risk entry on the 1-minute refinement if there was liquidity creation for the 1-minute POI. This was the plan, but actually the confirmation entry has happened. But let's take a look and let's talk about the no tag entry opportunities after the deeper mitigation right here. You can see how this V-shaped recovery was. This was a literally perfect reaction on the 15-minute demand area, also on the 5-minute time frame too. So there was a literally perfect V-shaped recovery. There was a small body break below the 15-minute demand area, as you can see, but it was only a sweep. After this huge reaction to the upside, I wouldn't call it as a break. So price broke below it, the 15-minute candle closed, and immediately with the next 15-minute candle, it has reacted insanely. So it wasn't a break in this case. Rarely it happens when there is a small body break on higher time frame areas, but it isn't really a break. It's just a sweep like it was in this case. So 50% mitigation happened. V-shaped recovery happened, and let's take a look on the no tag opportunities. After this V-shaped recovery, after this huge reaction to the upside, here are the no tag opportunities. All right, here it is. 1-minute time frame has changed character, as you can see. There was the change of character. I wouldn't count this small wick in this case because it wasn't satisfying for me, and also it could be easily liquidity right here. I wanted to see a real break, and in this case, it happened. As you can see, perfect reaction, which has happened from this zone. This was the decision in this case that has caused the change of character directly, and there was an extreme zone that has caused really nice volume inefficiency. So we had two possible entry POIs in this case. And even though price has mitigated an opposite sided zone, I kept my orders on these areas. So I had a risk split entry, as you could assume that. Let's count the criteria first. The first one was the higher time frame zone mitigation. Price reacted on the last recent 50-minute event, swapped liquidity into it. There was the liquidity take for the higher time frame zone, and also really nice inefficiency was there for both entry POIs. So inefficiency was there, and also we are in a pro trend. On the 50-minute time frame, let's take a look on the 50-minute time frame. If we take a look here, technically this is the 50-minute high point, 50-minute low point. But the 50-minute low point was part of this liquidity. So I really wanted to see the fail of this low point right here in order to execute shorts. And as you can see, price has just reacted on this zone. I wouldn't really call this one as a change of character, but also after the change of character, if it was, price has changed the character back. So this flip of this 50-minute supply, flip of the last recent 50-minute supply, indicated me to look for longs too, even though I did not manage to get a tag in right here. So yeah, we were in a pro trend. On the higher time frame, the forward is still extremely bullish, and I was just expecting a new breakout structure on the 4-hour high point. So we have all the 4 base criteria that we need, and we could count the variable ones. The first variable one was the change of character. This is a change of character right here with perfect V-shape recovery. So we have the 5th and 6th criteria in this case. There was more than 50% mitigation on the higher time frame zone. And also there was liquidity target on the upside. Technically, the whole upside in this case was liquidity that we could target. So this was the 8th criteria. The 9th one was the not coming from opposite sided zone, which wasn't there. So it was missing in this case because price has reacted on the last recent 50-minute supply. That has caused the breakout structure here with this movement. But the only purpose of this supply in this case was to sweep this liquidity into the deeper region of the 15-minute demand. But I did not count that criteria because technically price was coming from an opposite sided zone, which was a 15-minute area. So the 9th criteria was missing. However, for the extreme zone, there was combined liquidation right here, which was the decision in itself. But after the decision zone had his own liquidity right here, technically right here. So both zone had its own liquidity. Even though there wasn't liquidity creation for the decision, I had a risk split entry on this one because it still had a chance to hold the price, even though there wasn't liquidity creation for that zone. But it could easily become liquidity for the extreme zone if price would reverse from this low point right here. So yeah, but after this liquidity creation, it had its own liquidity, and I kept my limit order here with more confidence. And also the core active pullback strong pro movements, we could count it. So if we take a look at the previous day's price action, technically the bullish movements are stronger than the bearish ones. The bearish movements were only liquidity sweeping and liquidity building movements. So this was an unusual movement. Price has made a strong reaction, but after that, look at this bearish pullback to the downside. And after this deeper demand mitigation, look at this reaction to the upside. So yeah, corrective pullback strong pro movements were there too. So I had 10 criterias. I had 10 criterias for both areas. But at first I had 9 criteria for the decision zone. It was perfectly enough for me. I had split risk entry here, which turned out as no tag trade. So I had no tags here, but after the mitigation of this zone, and actually after the flip of this zone, I decided to delete my orders here on these zones. and let me delete them right here. No tags. All right, and let me delete these drawings right here. So after the flip of this 15-minute supply, I said that we can look for confirmation entries, or on the 1-minute refinement, we can wait for liquidity creation and risk entry on it if the flip happens on this 15-minute supply. Actually, the flip happened. So here is my break-even point. There was a 15-minute supply, there was the flip of the 15-minute supply. After this 15-minute supply flip, there was perfect liquidity creation for the extreme 15-minute demand. So there is an extreme 15-minute demand, which was the origin of this flip movement, also the 15-minute character changing movement. So if you take a look on the 15-minute time frame, you can see that flip of the supply happened, which also equals as a change of character. And there was a really nice inefficient area, which was the origin of this character changing movement. On the 15-minute time frame, also there was a weak supply that has caused a flip directly on this 15-minute supply area. I use this 15-minute weak supply area as my higher time frame zone, and after the flip right here, I was really missing the volume flip criteria in this case, and also this huge liquidity pool below this 15-minute wick area was the main reason I decided to not open a risk entry on this flip zone, because the volume flip volume break criteria for me is crucial. And also there was smaller amount of liquidity for this possible entry POI right here. As you can see, price reacted on it, so it would be a valid entry opportunity, but for me it wasn't. And also there was more liquidity below the entry POI. I was sure about that price will sweep this liquidity, probably mitigate this demand area right here, and after this demand mitigation, I would wait for a confirmation entry to the upside, and I would wait for the continuation after this demand mitigation. As you can see, it did not happen, and actually price did a sweep into this below this 50-minute wick area, so swept some liquidity from this region, but actually created more right here. And after this sweep of this liquidity with this movement, so 15-minute candle closed inside of this zone, as you can see. Yeah, here is the 15-minute candle that closed inside of this wick area. The price action is a bit messy, I don't lie about it. So it's a bit messy right here, and it's a bit rangy. But on the 15-minute time frame, the 5-minute time frame, sorry, on the 5-minute time frame, the 5-minute candles also closed inside the 50-minute wick area that caused the flip. But price created literally perfect double bottom. And I was waiting for a sweep at least of these double bottoms right here, which actually functioned as liquidity take for this 5-minute area that has caused the breakout structure after the flip. So there was a 5-minute breakout structure, price left behind a 5-minute area that has caused, which was the origin and which has initiated the inefficient movement to the upside that has caused the 5-minute breakout structure. And after this reaction, after the sweep of this double bottom liquidity, price closed inside of this 5-minute area, and after a literally perfect V-shaped recovery, there wasn't a new breakout structure, so I did not count this one as a change of character. There wasn't any breakout structure. Price has just changed the character here to the upside and left behind a possible entry opportunity, which has presented really nice volume candles that has technically caused a change of character. After that, I decided to enter on this zone right here, but with 9 criteria. So I did not have 10 criteria in this case. The missing criteria for me was the combined liquidation. There wasn't combined liquidation, and in this case I did not count the corrective pullbacks from pro movements, because at this point I looked at this movement right here, and I wasn't 100% sure about the strength of the bullish movement. However, there was a really nice V-shaped recovery beforehand. It had a chance to make a bearish movement to the downside, but yeah, in this case I did not count the corrective pullbacks from pro movements, but everything else was there. So let's count the criteria. The first one, higher time frame zone mitigation. Second one, liquidity to take. These double bottoms functioned as liquidity to take for the higher time frame zone. There is inefficiency right here for the entry POI, and also we are in a pro trend. So after the 50-minute change of character, 5-minute has just made a new breakout structure. Price reacted on it, reacted on the last recent 5-minute demand area and caused change of character. So we are in a pro trend too. And also the higher time frame, the 4-hour time frame, is still bullish. We have all the 4 base criteria that we need. So I did count the variable ones. The first one was the change of character. The second variable one was the V-shaped recovery, which also are over 6 criteria. The 7th one was the liquidity target on the upside. So technically the whole upside was liquidity to target for the longs. The 8th criteria was the 50% mitigation. So there was 50% mitigation on the last recent 5-minute demand area. Price wasn't coming from any opposite sided zone. There wasn't any opposite sided zone at this point right here. So price wasn't coming from an opposite sided zone. And the missing criteria for me were the corrective pullback, strong pro movements, and the combined liquidation. In this case, there wasn't combined liquidation above the entry POI, and the bearish movement was technically equal as the bullish movements at this point. So yeah, I had 9 criteria. I decided to enter right here with reduce risk. So for 9 criteria, I use reduce risk. So I entered here with 0.25% risk, and beforehand, because of the reduce risk, split risk, sorry, I also used 2 times 0.25%. So yeah, but in this case, for this entry POI, entry opportunity right here, I use reduce risk because of the 9 criteria, and you can see that price has reacted on it. So it was a valid POI, went above a bit, probably went above and float in 1 risk reward ratio. And after this weak reaction, it wasn't a strong reaction at all. Oh, sorry, I don't know what to do. All right. Yeah, so after this weak reaction, I decided to put my stop loss into break even after the break of this high point. And you can see that price swept me out in break even with 9 criteria. And yeah, after the mitigation right here, it presented really nice reaction. So yeah, and technically that's all, guys. I really hope you can grab some recap from you can grab some value from these recaps. So yeah, that's all, guys. Take care and see you guys tomorrow in London session. Bye.